So let's talk a little bit about how to do some of the things that you may be wondering how to do. In order to put a folder in, you have to go to the plus sign and put a folder, and then name it. Then after that, you can add expressions. You can even press the down arrow to add expressions. To be within a folder, it has to be linked. If it is not linked and you want it to be put into a folder, you grab the item and then drag it until you see that the line kind of connect to that item. And so now both of these number 2 and 3 are both in the folder. So let's say I want to put a circle in. One of the things that's kind of important about this is that you really have to remember why we've done what we've done all year. You don't want to be guessing constantly. You want to use your vertical and horizontal shifts. So let's say I have x minus 6 squared plus y minus 3 squared. I know that that is going to give me a circle that is going to be to the right 6 and up 3. And so if I make that equal to 2, that means the radius will be square root of 2. If I make it equal to 4, the radius will be 2, and so on. So there are a couple things that will really be beneficial in this regard. Um, One thing that you may want to know is if you want to limit how much of the circle you see, you can say that inside of these curly brackets, y must be greater than, let's say, 4. And then that's going to limit what you see of the circle. Or if y is greater than 3.5, or y is greater than 2, you'll see a lot of different things about the circle. You can also limit it based on some other uh, thing. So, for example, let's say we had a line y equals x minus 3 in here, and I wanted that to be the thing that cuts off my circle. Actually, let's make it y equals x minus 4. If I want that to be the thing that cuts off my circle, I can say y is greater than x minus 4, and my circle will start and stop on the line. And so I can use other things in order to actually start or cut off what I see of my figure. Also, in order to shade, I use less than or greater than or something like that. So if I make this y, or that circle is less than 4, that's going to shade in everything that's less than 4 inside the circle. And I probably want to make it less than or equal to, so then it's a filled in circle if I was doing something like that. Um, Finally, on this video, we may want to talk about what it looks like for um, something to be moving. So if I want something to be moving, let's take, for example, an ellipse. So I have uh, x plus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 1. And I want this to be over 9 and this to be over 16. Well, I can move this ellipse in a variety of different ways. The first thing I can do is I can move what I see of the ellipse. So let's say I just say y must be greater than a. Then something's going to show up where it says add slider. So now I have a slider. And what ends up happening is if I move this slider, it will indicate what I'm seeing of this. So if I limit what I see, I can then just click over here and say, let's say I want to limit um, what I see of this, or let's say make it less than. Um, let's say I go from -4 to 0. So then when I press play, that will be what shows up. It'll be some kind of just part of an ellipse. Now, if I limit it to be between A and B, then I can also uh, limit what's happening between B, let's say. So let's say I say this would be -5 to -4, and have a variety of different things going on at once if I really wanted to. Now, I could also change the shape of this. So if I press play here, this goes from a hyperbola to nothing, and that's because of the bounds that I set. So let's say I change the bounds to look something like this. It goes from a hyperbola to an ellipse, and then back to a hyperbola. If I only want it to go in one direction, I can change the animation properties so that it goes in only one direction. And then once it hits 10, it will then cycle back to -4. I can also change the speed at which this goes or some other things like that. Uh, if I wanted to change the color, I can just hold down on whatever color I see, and then I can change the color of the shape that I'm getting. So those are just some introductory things for Desmos. I hope you have a good time doing the project.